are back. Welcome back to another episode of the AJ Sports Podcast. I am one half, Anthony Carbone. To my left is the other half, Justin Vilche. I fixed my microphone, so it's finally going to sound fucking good. You know, the NHL starting soon. We got about a week and 2 days till opening night. I mean, Friday the Sabres and Devils play wherever the fucking, I think it's Germany or Finland, wherever.
Yes.
But who cares?
Somewhere in Europe.
That's whatever. I'm ready for Montreal, Toronto. So is he. We are excited. We're definitely going to talk about the last preseason game these guys played. But yeah, let's say what's up to Justin first. How you doing, bro?
I'm good, bro. Fantasy hockey draft later on tonight. We're pumped. Getting close to the hockey season.
Yes.
You're gonna be previewing the Central Division.
Yes.
This episode. So, bro, like the more hockey stuff we do, the more hockey related stuff, the more closer we get. So. Let's go.
You said something. You said something very key. Our fantasy hockey draft is tonight. The AJ Sports Podcast fantasy hockey draft is going to be tonight. We are excited for that. I get first overall pick, so I'm pretty sure everybody knows who I'm gonna fucking pick because he's a point machine, especially after losing in the Cup final. But that's for later. Right now, we got to preview the Central Division. The second hardest division in the NHL, I would say, behind the Atlantic Division. No.
I think so, and I think we're gonna have a ton of disagreements on this one.
As you guys saw,
complete opposite.
Yeah,
because the Metro, we
were pretty much dead even, except you had the Capitals and swapped with the Hurricanes. Everything else we pretty much had similar. Before we get into the Central Division, I want to talk about fucking preseason. Let's talk about preseason. Everybody hates preseason. This shit going on for 2 weeks, and 2 nights ago on Saturday, really drew the line for me. Patrick Laine, newest Montreal Canadian, a very exciting signing for the Canadiens as he is a great goal scorer who wants an opportunity on a better team. Columbus wasn't doing it for him. He gets his.
He's also a veteran.
Yeah, he's a veteran.
He's been elite. He's insane.
Yeah, bro, he's been a veteran. Anyways,
yeah.
Man, he plays his second game in a Montreal Canadiens uniform. What happens to him? Fucking some casual rookie on the Leafs sticks his knee out on purpose, and he goes knee on knee with Patrick Laine, taking him out of the game. Unfucking believable. What an absolute disgrace of a play. That was so intentional. I don't know what the fuck he was saying afterwards. He was like, "Oh, I didn't mean to. I hope he's okay." Dude, you don't intentionally stick your knee out in an open ice play. Are you fucking joking? Yeah. Come on, bro. Everybody saw you stick your knee out on purpose. And Arbor Jacker's response, I really appreciated seeing that fucking response. He went up and beat the shit out of him, took a misconduct, took a $3,000 fine. And on Twitter, there are Habs fans setting up a GoFundMe for Arbor Jack to get him that money that the NHL took from him. It is so hilarious. It is incredible to see. Look at that logo right there. That is a logo of pride right there. This Montreal Canadiens logo. Unbelievable shit from that guy, whatever his name was. We're never even going to see him.
Yeah.
Subban on Twitter really went in on this, saying it was a dirty play and how the NHL needs to protect their superstars. Completely agree with him because he said it himself. He came and paid to watch, because he was at the game. He came and paid to watch Patrick Laine, not this dude that tried to knee on him. What did you think of the situation?
Yeah. Literally. Again, it just shows like why preseason literally there's no point of it. Like I understand, okay, maybe get 2 to 3 games to, get everybody in the mix, get everybody ready. But come on, bro, 2-3 weeks, but this happens in all sports. Like we say this in the MLB when there's like a month and a half of preseason. It just doesn't make any sense. We say this in the NBA. It's like, dude, 2-3 weeks of preseason. Like guys, these guys train in the off season. These guys don't need 2-3 weeks of preseason games. Like it's just unnecessary. The player who need Laine, I'm gonna be honest, I hope I don't see this guy ever on this Leaf squad. You can already tell he's a dirty player, and I don't even remember his name because he's literally just like nobody cares about him. I was excited to watch Laine play, and I know as a Leaf fan, I don't want to say it, but yeah, as a hockey fan, I would love to see Laine Matthews game 1. And a healthy Laine could easily give the Habs 40 goals, which would be amazing for you and all Habs fans, right? But again, it's just unfortunate that such a good hockey player now is injured. We don't know how long the injury is. They said very serious, so it could be, maybe I don't know, maybe 3-4 months, depending on what happened in his knee. Could be an ACL. as we saw in our soccer league years ago with one of our players, it could be an ACL, and maybe it could affect him for the rest of his life. You know, so we don't know yet. But yeah, preseason, 30 players, it's just unnecessary. Like, there's no
It's not
need.
even the line situation either. So he gets injured. Drew Doughty gets injured, and we don't know what's going to happen with him because he had
Yeah,
an
Matthews got injured.
ankle sprain. Matthews was injured as well. Nylander was injured as well. I'm just so sick of preseason being so
Yeah.
long. It's unnecessary to have 2 weeks worth of preseason for the NHL because now some of these guys who are valuable pieces to their teams are now on the shelf and without a timeline to return. So I think they should shorten the preseason to a week, maybe even like 3 games each team.
Yeah,
That's it.
3 games.
I don't want to see Toronto, Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa, or Ottawa, Montreal like 4 times in the preseason. Like, who gives a shit?
Yeah, it's
Just go.
unnecessary.
You like. There's no point. I mean, you play Matthews, Marner, Nylander, those guys. Or let's say you're the Leafs example. You play those guys a couple times. Sure, whatever. It's fine. You can play those. You can play those guys like 1 game. But like, you know who's making the roster. Like, come on, man. You know who's making the roster. Do you really need to play all these players? Like
Yeah.
these players all the time. Like, I get it. Just play like the guys who are upcoming, who want to fill out a roster spot in that fourth, maybe third or fourth line. But like, you know the rosters. I'm just so sick of seeing all these good players on every team get fucking injured before the season even starts. So stupid.
Yeah.
So stupid. And this Line thing really did it to me because I wanted to see Line score a hat trick on home opening night against the Leafs. So now I might not be able to see that, which sucks. However, we still have Caulfield and Suzuki, so that's fine. But still,
Do anything.
it just sucks that we have to see another player get injured.
Yeah, like even in Calgary, now some Calgary got injured, they don't know the timeline on that. It's just like, yeah, perfect example. Like Nick Robertson was playing pretty much in all these games. Fraser Minton, Easton Cowan, Max Pacioretty was playing too. Like, again, all these guys are fighting for a roster spot, right? There's no need to put in Matthews for these games. Like, Matthews is your number one center. He's the pinnacle of like superstars in the league. Like, why even bother playing him like majority of these games? Like, it literally doesn't make any sense. You know, like, I understand you want to get their fitness up and stuff. Like, dude, like, these guys have been practicing all summer, bro. Like, these guys are professional. They've been in the league for years. Like, they know their routine already, okay? But, like, I don't know. I'm just so done with the preseason. Like,
So is everybody, man. But enough of that. Enough of that rant. Let's get into the Central Division. One of the most intriguing divisions out of the four. I'd say the second, like we talked about earlier, the second best behind the Atlantic.
yeah.
So I think we should start with this team that I have looked at with all the additions that they've made, the most additions I've seen out of any team in this division, the Chicago Blackhawks. Very exciting team to watch. Connor Bedard's first season was absolutely incredible, except for the fact that he got injured for a little bit. However, this guy still managed to put up how many goals did he score? Was it 30?
I think it was 31? 30?
Let
He
me
was hovering around 30.
let me have a look.
Considering, like,
Let me have a look here. He had 22 goals, 39 assists, 61 points in 68 games. So he got over 20 goals, which is good. Okay, it's solid. But his skill and everything that we saw was incredible. The way he passed the puck, the way he moves the puck, the way he dangles, the way he shoots, all of that, incredible to see.
paper.
It's just nuts. It's just nuts. So
Yeah, he's just one of a kind.
a one of a kind. Anyway, they go out, they come last in the division. Not surprising. It was a rebuilding squad. But let's look at the additions that they made. First of all, congratulations to Nick Foligno on being being named captain of former Leaf. So, interesting. He's the next captain of the Chicago Blackhawks. But I want to talk about this guy right here, Frank Nazar, if that's how you say his name, or Nazar. This rookie. He looks incredible. He signed an entry-level rookie deal, 3 years. He's going to be a nice piece to play with Bedard to grow this team. And let's look at the veterans that they signed. Forward Ilya Mikheyev in the offseason. Defense Alec Martinez. Okay. They added Laurent Brossoit to play with Peter Mrazek. They added Teuvo Teravainen from the Hurricanes. TJ Brody from the Toronto Maple Leafs. Tyler Bertuzzi from the Toronto Maple Leafs. Pat Maroon from the Bruins. And Craig Smith from the Dallas Stars. As I'm looking at their roster, their forward group looks pretty solid. You got Teravainen playing with Bedard and Bertuzzi. Taylor Hall, Kurashev, and Reichel, Nick Foligno, Jason Dickinson, Ilya Mikheyev, Anthony Ciu, Ryan Donato, Craig Smith, Martinez, Seth Jones on defense, Alex Vlasic, TJ Brody, and then rookie Kevin Korchinski playing with Connor Murphy, and obviously Peter Mrazek starting for the Blackhawks. This team looks better than last year's.
Much improved.
They're low-key cooking with this roster.
Okay. Whoa. Okay. How about cooking? No, I think they much improved. I just think the Central Division is going to be too tough for the Chicago Blackhawks team because I just think there's better teams in this division. Blackhawks, I think they're lacking defense a little bit. Obviously goaltending, I think they're lacking too. Like I don't think Peter Mrazek is going to be as good as he was last year. Because remember last year he had like above 900 save percentage. Like he was actually somewhat decent. He was like around hovering like 905, 910. I do really rate their forward core. Like I like Tuvo, Bedard, obviously Bertuzzi, Taylor Hall, who has been good for years now. Kurashev, who's still young and upcoming. Dickinson, Mikheyev, Craig Smith as well.
I'm a big fan of their first power play. Have you looked at their power play?
Yeah,
yet?
first.
Seth Jones,
Yes, I have.
quarterbacking Connor Bedard, Tara Viden, Taylor Hall, and Bertuzzi. That power play could be
Yeah,
pretty
that's a pretty good power play. Yeah. Where do I have them though? I think I have them last again. I think they'll come last in this division. I just think there's 7 teams who will just simply better. Yeah, I just don't trust his goaltending. I know Mrazek was better last year. Obviously after the whole like Leafs thing, he was better last year in Chicago, and they did reinforce him with some Laurent Brossoit, who is actually a good backup. But I just think defense wise, and I think mixed veterans and the like the amateur guys, I just don't really see them rising as much as they like from last year. So I just have them 8th. I just think they'll finish last.
Couldn't agree with you more. 8th place seems right. They are a rebuilding team. They did provide Connor Bedard a lot of great players to play with him to help him develop his game. Playing on a line with veterans like Teravainen and Bertuzzi, I mean, Bedard's really going to be snapping that puck around, especially for a guy like Teravainen who can snipe a couple, and Bertuzzi who will grind in front of the net and just get those garbage goals.
He definitely reach 85 points. Bedard can definitely reach 85 points if he stays healthy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Mike. Like I said, everyone is going to be focusing on Connor Bedard this year. Of course, another year of him playing. And I think that the general manager, Kyle Davidson, did a really good job, bringing in those pieces to help Bedard and grow his game. And like you said, 85 points seems manageable. 40 goals could also happen. We saw how good he was in his rookie year, in his first game playing Crosby, and then the next night playing like Marchand and the Bruins. Yeah. Like, come on, man. So for his game to develop with these players that he's playing with, I mean, I could see him scoring 40 goals for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, if he stays healthy, because he could have scored 40 goals last year if he didn't miss like 6-7 weeks with a broken jaw. So, I mean, and that was with an even worse Chicago team. So, I mean, if he's healthy and this Chicago team can relatively stay healthy, I can see him scoring 40 goals. I don't see why not. So, yeah. The way he just snipes the puck around, like, bro.
We both have him going 8th, last in the division. So we'll agree on that. Next team, your boys, the Colorado Avalanche, your team of the West. Let's talk about the Colorado Avalanche. So, a couple new signings. Casey Middlestat, I mean, not really new, but he signed a 3-year extension with the team. Jonathan Drouin also signed an extension. They also signed 3 defensemen, Calvin DeHaan being one of those guys. Oliver Shillington, a guy who we haven't seen play since the 2022 playoffs, is on the team now. And Eric Brenster from the Senators. Some players that left. Cogliano Pavo Francois retired, and Sean Walker went over to the Hurricanes. No update on Vlad Nichushkin. I mean,
no update. Yeah,
we don't know if he's going to be with the team. It's unfortunate because he is a great player. I think he's in the NHLPA system right now. So I think
something like that. There's not really much info right now in regards to Nichushkin. They want to keep that private. which is understandable, right?
You would hope he plays. He is a a very
Yeah.
valuable piece who could score like 20, 25 goals, maybe even 30 goals a season.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I mean, I hope he returns. I hope everything is well with him. They are dealing with a couple injuries. Other than Chuskin's whole thing there. Landeskog is still injured. They said he might return. We'll see though if he gets healthy in time. But again, we don't really know how much of an impact he'll have on this AF squad, considering he hasn't played in like 2 years.
Since
And
the cup final,
Lehkonen
man.
is also injured. Yeah, Lehkonen is also injured, but I think he should be back for the home opener or the season opener. Um, we'll say this forward core does not look great.
Yeah.
Other than the first line, they are missing a right winger. They're also missing a left winger. I do like their center depth, and obviously the best player in the league, Nathan McKinnon. Then you have Casey Middlestad, as like your top two center guys, which is, is very serviceable. Like, it's actually great top two centers. And then you have Drew and Rantanen on the first line. But other than that, they're really lacking forward depth. They have Peter Ranta, Middlestad, and Callum Ritchie on the second line. Miles Wood, Ross Cole, Logan O'Connor, Kovlenko, Parker Kelly, and Wagner. I think they are really missing Lehkonen and Chushkin really bad here because they would slot in perfectly on that second line along with Casey Middlestad, which would be an absolutely phenomenal second line if they were playing right now. But yeah, they are lacking forward depth. Their defensive pairs are phenomenal. I really like their defensive pairs. Obviously, Devontae and McCarr, who's been like the best defensive pair in the league for a couple of years now. Gerard and Josh Manson, who have been playing for a good year now together. And then you have Eric Bergstrom, who didn't really get an opportunity
In Ottawa.
to really showcase himself in Ottawa. Like, because they already had Shabbat, and they had Sanderson, and then they had Chikrin last year. So he didn't really get a chance. And also, Oliver Shington didn't really get a chance himself either in Calgary because they already had Uyghur and they had Rasmus Anderson. So he's kind of just left in the dark. So I'm glad the Avs are kind of giving these guys an opportunity to show themselves and to like prove that they can actually stay in the league and can also be a good defensive unit here in Brandstrom and Shillington. Again, I think this season relies on Georgiev. I mean, goodness gracious me. Last year he was awful. He conceded like 4 goals a game, and they really didn't have a backup. Annunen really wasn't that good either. So this season really relies on if Georgiev wants to be good again, and if they can actually find a serviceable backup. Because me personally, I don't think Annunen is a serviceable backup. He simply isn't good either. And 2, forward depth. Defense, they're perfectly fine. I have no problem with the defense. I just think forward depth is a huge issue, and I think really just it depends on Georgiev. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think you honestly, since you watch these guys a lot, I think you nailed every thing on the head. Like you said, the defense looks really good. Devontae and Cale Makar being one of the best defensive pairings in the league for many years. Samuel Girard, Josh Manson, Eric Brandstrom, Oliver Shillington, on that as that third pair. The forward depth, yeah. I was looking at their forwards like before we started recording, and that bottom 6, whew, it's looking a bit rough. I would put Logan O'Connor over Callum Ritchie on that second line. I really liked his game last year, so I wouldn't really necessarily go with this. I don't even know who Callum Ritchie is, so must be one of the rookies that they've had. Logan O'Connor, Logan O'Connor, I think would really fit the second, like grow into that second right wing position. I like Miles Wood on that line too. Just that fourth line. I mean, Chris Wagner, Parker Kelly, and Nikolai Kolavenko. I'm not really too sure how that's going to really do, especially with a lot of the other teams in the Central Division's fourth lines. Like the Dallas Stars, you got the Nashville Predators, Minnesota, a lot of really good teams. So I don't know how that fourth line can compare to those. But yeah, a really big key for the Colorado Avalanche is the play of Alexander Georgiev. My goodness, he was awful last year. You already talked about it. Yeah. He just wasn't good enough. Now, I don't know if it's because he was playing too much, but he honestly does not have a single a good backup option to help him in case he's shit. Because it looks to me that Georgiev is going to play, I want to say it's going to be a 70-30 percentage like starting wise. I really don't see Annunen getting many starts this year. As for Georgiev,
it could be another situation where Georgiev plays 60 games, 60, 65 games like we did last year.
Yeah, and that's the problem. He's gonna get really like
Like,
overworked, and he's gonna be tired when it comes to playoffs. And who knows what happens there? Because in that Jet series, he was not that great. It's not to forget. He was
no,
not.
no,
I like Connor Hellebuck wasn't good, but Georgiev wasn't great either, especially in that first game.
no.
So they really heavily relied on their big guys like Rantanen and McKinnon and McCarr. So I feel like it's going to be the same situation this year. I don't see they're obviously not going to miss playoffs. They're obviously going to make it. I mean, they're
Yeah,
after a Stanley Cup, especially like they're after their second in 4 years. They're still like competing. However, the team just doesn't look as strong as it has in past years. I will say they'll make playoffs, but I'm gonna go with second place in the division, maybe even third. But for now, I'm gonna say second.
yeah. I had them second, but I put them third. I think Avs will get in there. They'll beat the third spot. Just the fourth core does not look great. It really all depends on Georgiev. I think Lauren Brossoit would have been a perfect, absolutely perfect backup for Georgiev. That would have been the best option. It never happened. They stuck with Union. And oh, there's this guy called Ivan, who was playing preseason. That is part of the Avs.
Triple I.
Like, yeah. So I mean, and he's been kind of cooking in preseason. So I mean, if we see Ivan in the lineup, I mean, that would be pretty cool. And I think he could really. And I think he could really slide into this lineup, considering how their depth is really not that great. But yeah, I think Avs third place.
Yeah, I mean, we both have them making playoffs. It makes sense. They were there. They're there.
Yeah.
They're pretty much there every year. Next team,
Yeah.
the Dallas Stars. Let's talk about the Dallas Stars, who last year and the year before went to the Western Conference Final and got taken out in 6 games both times. Last year to McDavid and the Oilers, and the year before to Jack Eichel and the Vegas Golden Knights. Some notable new signings. They got Sam Steele again. Casey DeSmith is now their backup goalie. They signed Matt Dumba on defense to replace Chris Tanev, Ilya Lyubushkin to replace Ryan Suter, and they signed Colin Blackwell to replace Craig Smith. Joe Pavelski retired from professional hockey. He is now not on the team. Congratulations to him on his retirement and an incredible career. We cannot deny that he was a great player, especially with those tips. He was one of the greatest guys in front of the net with those tips, with that nice white stick, always on the ice with the Sharks and with the Dallas Stars. It sucks he couldn't win a cup, but congratulations to him on his retirement. I'm looking at their roster. It looks pretty much the same, except, we have Wyatt Johnson in Joe Pavelski's spot. We've got Matt Duchene on that second line center position. Their top 6 is pretty gross. It's got Robertson, Hintz, Johnson, Mason Marchment, Matt Duchene, Tyler Seguin. Their bottom 6 is also pretty good, especially a key guy I want to mark down here is Logan Stankoven. This guy is absolutely nasty at 5'7". He can really shoot the puck. He's great with his hands. Mm-hmm. He plays a really good defensive game as a winger, and he can really transition the puck and be a game changer for the Dallas Stars. Their defense is looking pretty decent too. They extended Thomas Harley, who had a pretty good season last year. They have Miro Heiskanen obviously manning that first spot with Matt Dumba, Lyubushkin playing with Harley, Esa Lundell, and Niels Lundqvist. And we obviously know what we're going to get from Jake Ottinger, and then DeSmith backing him up. What do we think of the Dallas Stars? Because they still look like the best team, in my opinion, in the Central.
Yeah. I think they are the best team in the Central. I think they did lose quite a lot in the offseason on the defensive side. They did lose. They lost Yanni Hakanpää and they lost Chris Tanev. And I don't really think Dumba and Lyubushkin really, even out the losses. I do really like offensive. I think Wyatt Johnson, who was phenomenal last year, playing on really only 18 minutes a night. I think he's going to have a great season this year. Now on that first line with Rupe Hintz and with the best Asian player in the league in Jason Robertson. I do think Mason Marchment is going to have 20-goal season again with Duchene. Duchene, who was great last year, by the way. I think he'll have another great season this year. I'm with Tyler Seguin. Stankoven, who was going off when he started last year with the Stars. He was just going absolutely off. I think he's going to have a great season. I can honestly see him playing second line with Duchene and Mason Marchment. Dadonov, he's a 20-goal scorer in previous years, so why can't he do it again? I don't see him playing fourth line, maybe a third line. They also have Miro Heiskanen, who I personally think will be a Norris candidate this year. He did have a little bit of a down year last year, but I think it was kind of just one of those years. I think this year he'll bounce back, and it'll just be absolutely phenomenal this year, backing that quarterback, quarterbacking that power play. Then you have Harley as well, as what you said. Lindell also signed a new contract. They re-signed him. And then obviously Otter probably be in Norris conversations.
You mean
Yeah.
Vesna
I just think the start.
conversations?
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, that's the conversation. I just think the start team is just gonna be just so well drilled and just so like perfect. Not perfect, but there's just like great all around. And I do think they're the best team in the Central. That's why me personally I have them first in this Central Division.
I also have them first. I mean, a couple of podcasts ago, I did say the Predators were going to be the best team. Looking back, I kind of want to retract my statement. I really like this Dallas Stars team a lot more, especially that top six and White Johnson. Oh my goodness, man, these guys are going to be gross. They won the did they win 2 years ago as well, the Western Conference? I think they won the Western Conference 2 seasons in a row, if I'm not mistaken. But these guys are always there. They're always there, right? They're always in that conversation for like top teams in the league. And yeah, first place, no doubt, is the Dallas Stars in that Central Division. Yeah.
I remember last year they were doing well without Jason Robertson performing at his highest level.
Yeah.
Now with a bounce back Robertson, a bounce back Heiskanen, a bounce back Rupe Hintz, who wasn't really that great for offensively wise last year. I think now with them three and then Wyatt Johnson continuing to do his thing, and now full season of Stankoven, the Star team can be a real powerhouse. I think once they get clicking, I think it could be demolition derby for the Stars team, just running riot.
All right, moving on. A very interesting squad here. The Minnesota Wild. These guys, man.
Oh, yes.
These guys are interesting. Let's look at some of the signings that they've made. They signed they traded for Jacob Lacko from the Bruins. They signed Travis Boyd from the Utah Hockey Club, formerly known as the Arizona Coyotes. They signed Devin Shore, another depth player. And they extended their basically number one defenseman, Brock Faber, to a 8x8 or 8x8.5. I could be wrong. It was something along those lines. But he got the extension. Bill Guerin obviously believes in him as a player. He's really developed. He's going to be the guy to watch this year. Alexander Golganovsky retired from professional hockey. The lineup looks pretty similar to last year's. We got Kaprizov, Hartman, and Zuccarello. Marcus Johansson, Joel Eriksson-Ek, and Matt Boldy on the second line. Top six is looking pretty gross still. Marcus Foligno, Marco Rossi, another guy we gotta keep an eye on. Yakov Trenin as well, and then Jacob Lacko, Marat Kunisdinov. I don't even know how to say his name. I would probably put Devin Shore in that last spot, and then Frederick Gaudreau on the fourth line. Looking pretty solid. Before I let you start, or before I let you talk, I'm gonna finish what I have to say. My thing with the Wild, these guys, there's something about them I just cannot stand. They're like the Eastern Conference. So they're like the Western Conference Columbus Blue Jackets. Like nobody gives a shit about the Minnesota Wild, and I can't agree more. Like honestly, these guys, bro, like they don't excite me. They're not like a team that's like, oh, I can't wait to watch them play games. I don't know what it is. Now, for these guys to be successful this year, they need their guy that they signed a couple seasons ago in Philip Gustafsson to take back the net and go back to what he was playing before. Yeah. We've seen this, I don't know how many times as players. They have like a pretty good like majority of the season, and then they get the bag. So he got the bag, and then the next year, which was last year, lost his net to a almost 40-year-old Marc-Andre Fleury, by the way, and they just missed playoffs. So if the Wild really want to go somewhere this year, I think Philip Gustafsson needs to have a bounce-back year in net. Kirill Kaprizov, we know what we're going to get from him. I think I want to see a bit more, though, because I know he can just, he can move the puck with his wizardry and all that. But the one thing that I want to see from him is just more. I want to see more. We need to see him take over games. We need to see him get to that star level as like a Panarin, as like a Kucherov on the wing. We need to see that. And, I mean, the rest of the team looks good. Marco Rossi, I'm excited to see how he does this year because he's a young piece in their lineup. And then Brock Faber as well. Him being that number one guy, Bill Guerin giving him this huge role as the team's number one defenseman. I think he's gonna thrive in that role, and I think he's gonna really push the Minnesota Wild towards the playoffs. And I'm not. I mean, we can. I'll just say it now. I think they will get in. I think they'll get in fourth. I think. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have them go fourth. And I'll explain who I have out afterwards. But yeah, I think these guys are probably gonna make playoffs. I really like how, like I said, Faber, Rossi, Kaprizov. I think these guys are really gonna bounce back, and I think Philip Gustafsson is gonna bounce back too. I think I could see the Minnesota Wild making playoffs. As much as I really don't like this team, I think they're gonna make playoffs.
I have the Wild fourth as well. I think last year was really just unfortunate with injuries. Like Spurgeon didn't play pretty much the whole season. Hartman was injured. Yeah, it just really wasn't a good time. Brodin was also injured for like half the season as well. Like pretty much the defensive core was kind of just like on the shelf. I will say this Minnesota Wild team I do really like. Obviously Kaprizov is arguably a top 10 player in the league. I absolutely love Kaprizov. I love watching him play. I just love how the way he just takes over games. The way you said they're kind of like the Columbus Blue Jackets, kind of doesn't make any sense. Because I think
really?
Kaprizov will be, yeah. Because one, the Wild are playoff contenders. The Columbus Blue Jackets are not playoff contenders, and dude, like Minnesota is a bigger hockey market than the Columbus Blue Jackets. And I mean, Minnesota Wild, like Kirill Kaprizov will be a bigger star than any Columbus Blue Jacket has ever had. So, like, I'll just put it out there. Like, yeah. Kaprizov, he did have 40 goals last year, along with Joel Eriksson Ek, who was the first centerman on the team last year, which I think he will continue to be the first centerman. Ryan Hartman will probably slot into the second C. Then obviously Matty Zuccarello will continue to do his thing, just assist Kaprizov goals. Then you have Matt Boldy, who I could honestly see fighting for the first right wing position. Boldy will probably put up, I could see 70, 75 points. Marcus Johansson will still be there. Foligno, Marco Rossi. I do really like their center depth in Eriksson Ek, Hartman, Rossi. Their winger depth as well with Kaprizov, Johansson, and Foligno. And then along with right wingers, Zuccarello, Boldy, and Trennan. I do really like that. Defensive pairs, Brodin, Faber. Faber will probably run that first power play. Spurgeon. They also have Bogosian who can still do the job. First power play unit is absolutely disgusting with Kaprizov, Eriksson Ek, Boldy, and Zuccarello. Yeah, I just think this team is also really good. Like, well drilled again all around, and just have really good pieces everywhere. Yeah, again, the season really relies on the goaltending as well. Like Fleury has been mediocre at best in these past couple seasons, and last year Gustafsson was just not good. I think if he steps up again, I think the Wild will make the playoffs, and I have them making first wild card.
Yeah, me too.
I think Kaprizov. Yeah, I just don't see Kaprizov missing the playoffs again. Considering last year, like he started off slow, but the fact he ended off with like 40 goals and like 95 points was still insane.
Well,
I remember he had like that 6 game against the Canucks along with Eriksson Ek.
I mean,
where they tied for like 12.
Since we're on the topic of Kaprizov, do you want to talk about how he could be going to the Chicago Blackhawks in 2026?
Yeah. Dude, that would be insane, and that would be the most funniest thing, because again, that would prove as to like the Wild can't keep star players. So it would just be really funny, like just watching the Wild like just lose their star player. But yeah, I think Kaprizov and Bedard, like, oh my goodness, like
it would be so.
How do you even stop?
You
have two snipers.
That's the problem. You can't stop those guys.
Yeah. It's like, bro, you're gonna have your defense focusing on Kaprizov and then just leaving Bedard open. And it's like, okay, well, we gotta cover Bedard. Okay, then we're gonna let 97 open. Like, it just doesn't make any sense, right? I would love to see that, like, especially in Chicago. Like, imagine Kaprizov in like a Chicago Blackhawk jersey, like, absolutely gross. You know, like easy 45, 50 goals. But yeah, Wild, fourth place, first wild card.
Yeah, I think we honestly have had everything the same. I think we both have Dallas at 1, Colorado at 2, Chicago at 8, and then Minnesota at 4.
I was at 3.
Oh yeah, the Avs at 3. Sorry. Yeah, I think we should move on now to, you know what? I want to save these guys for last. Let's talk about the Utah Hockey Club, or what is now Utah Hockey Club, formerly known as the Arizona Coyotes. They bring in Kevin Stenlund from Arizona, defense Ian Cole from Vancouver, and Mikhail Sergachev from the Tampa Bay Lightning. Interesting. They lose Josh Brown and Travis Boyd. Let me break this down. I don't really see much with these guys. I mean, they're heading into a new arena. new city, new everything. Connor
Yeah.
Ingram, he was competing at some point for the Vesna last year. He was there in those
Yeah.
conversations, which is surprising. Do I see
Um,
do I see him repeating? Probably not. I like Clayton Keller. They got Barrett Hayton, their number one center. They got
Hells.
Logan Cooley, Dylan Gunther, Matthias Michelli, Josh Doan. These guys are young. They've got good pieces around them. I'm gonna give a hot take. I think that if they're not in the playoff contention, I think they're gonna trade Clayton Keller at the deadline, the trade deadline. I think he's gonna go. Same thing with Nick Schmaltz. I just don't see these guys being playoff ready yet, and I think they could get some really good valuable pieces for those guys. Like Clayton Keller could be just wasting his talents in Utah, considering this is like more of a rebuilding team. I mean, they should try and make playoffs now, but like with the Central Division being as tough as it is, I don't see these guys getting anywhere near the playoffs. I'm gonna have them go seventh in the division, just above the Blackhawks,
Damn.
missing the playoffs. Yeah, I just think that there's better teams in this division. Like we talked about the Wild,
Yeah.
we haven't talked about the Blues and Predators yet, but like there's teams that are better, and with these guys having the young guns that they have, I think the Central Division is just too tough for them to make playoffs. So I think seventh is fair to say. And yeah, my hot take is that Clayton Keller will get traded at the trade deadline.
I will go against that, and I will say Clayton Keller will be captain of the Utah Hockey Club. I mean, he's been there for years, and he said that he will stick through the rebuild. So Keller is obviously still obviously young. I think he's about like 24, 25, or something like that. He'll put up 80, 85 points. Absolutely love Clayton Keller. I have his Arizona Kachina Keller jersey because that's Keller. I don't know what it is, bro. Keller is just an amazing player. I do think they will miss the playoffs. I have them sixth. I just think like it's gonna be another season where they're kind of just mediocre. Like I understand they got Sergachev, and he was obviously gonna run that first power play, which I think will be absolutely lethal. I mean, dude, Sergachev, Schmaltz, and Keller. Oh my goodness gracious. Um, and then they still have Josh Doan. They have McBain, Cooley, Dylan Gunther. Yeah. Kerfoot, Stenlin. Like again, nobody other than like Schmaltz and Keller and Josh don't really excite me. And then obviously Sergachev. Yeah, it's gonna be like an interesting season to see. Maybe they'll fight for the playoffs, for their new fans, new arena, new state, but I don't know. I think there's just five better teams in this division. And yeah, I kind of just see Utah kind of just be mid and sixth.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's nothing
just
else.
sixth.
Nothing else we can really say on them. I want to talk about a
But
team.
Keller will be captain. I think Keller will be named captain. I
Interesting.
don't see him getting traded.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The next team I want to talk about is the Winnipeg Jets. The fraud squad is how we like to describe them.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We are
As
here.
last year we predicted their downfall correct. We knew from the beginning that they were not this good, and we saw it in the playoffs because they lost in 5, being the home team as well in this series. Yeah, let's see. Their additions, they added 2 goalies for some reason. They added Eric Comrie and Capo Kakinen. They added defenseman Hayden Fleury and Colin Miller. Some notable players leaving. Nate Schmidt on defense, obviously, but 2 guys that I really think they're gonna miss. Sean Monahan and Tyler Toffoli. Those guys, I mean, great deadline acquisitions last year. They really, really, really helped these guys getting to the playoffs and surpassing the Avalanche in the division. Yeah, I'm looking at their forward roster. I mean, obviously you're going to go Connor, Scheifele, and Velarde. Cole Perfetti just signed an extension. Vlad Nemestikov, Nikolai Ehlers, but even their third line's pretty decent. Nito Ryder, Adam Lowry, Mason Appleton. Fourth line, nothing crazy. Like Iafallo, we know he's not the guy that they anticipated they would have. Rasmus Kapari, who knows how he's going to be. The defenseman is not looking great either, especially that like third or like second to third pairing. I mean, you have Morrissey and DeMello. Dylan Sandberg, I mean, I'm not really familiar with his game. They got Neil Pionk as well, and then Hayden Fleury, Colin Miller. It's not bad. And then obviously Connor Hellebuck, we talked about it. He really screwed up in the playoffs badly. He lost 4 in a row. He got gentlemen swept in the playoffs. It was bad. And man, the Winnipeg Jets, man, like you and I have been on their asses for years and saying how these guys are
Yeah.
just not a great team. They're frauds, and we literally called it last year. And man, it just looks worse than last year. I really don't see them repeating. I think last year was just a fluke, to be honest. I really don't see these guys making playoffs again. And I'm going to stick with that and say that they're not making playoffs, and I have them above the Utah Hockey Club in sixth. I think that there are better teams than them, including the Minnesota Wild. I think the Jets are going to have a regression season. And another thing as well that they were talking about, they can't even sell tickets in playoffs. It's pretty upsetting if you ask me. So eventually, this team is probably going to get relocated. I can definitely see that happening. And yeah, if they have a bad year, which I think they will, I mean, it's not looking great.
Yeah, I think it's really funny that Jets can't sell even playoff tickets. It's actually really funny to me. Jets fans think that they're all that. The Jets team think that they're all that, especially when they come to Toronto. They just think that, oh, like we're these big boys. Broski, nobody wants to play at Winnipeg, okay? I hope you know that the Winnipeg Jets will never win a damn thing in their history, okay? Nobody likes the
Flip
Winnipeg
it
Jets, and I
right
hope they
now.
get
Flip
relocated,
it right now.
okay? Nobody likes the Winnipeg Jets, okay? And I have them missing the playoffs, okay? I don't care that you have Vezina candidate Connor Hellbuck. You will miss playoffs. Your center depth is atrocious. You have Mark Scheifele and nobody else. Who Kapari, who Vladislav Nemesnikov. Like really? Are you actually being for real? Your defense sucks too. Okay, you have Dylan Sandberg and Hayden Fleury and Cullen Miller. Like, okay, bro, really? You only have Josh Morrissey, and he's gonna be playing out of his mind. Okay, because he has nobody else to help him. Okay, this Jets team will finish fifth. Okay, only because of Kyle Connor, who will probably put up 40 goals when he stays healthy. Okay, and that is it. Okay, this Jets team sucks. Okay, and they will miss playoffs. Okay, and I hope every Jets fan knows that they will not see any playoff hockey. Which actually, they don't even say playoff hockey anyway because they don't even sell tickets. Okay, so again, it'll be another disappointing season for the Winnipeg Jets. Okay, and I hope they know that. I really hope that this team kind of just like falls off. Like I hope they go 0-0 and 82. Like I hope they don't win a game. Yeah, the Winnipeg Jets are just a sorry franchise, and yeah, quite frankly, like nobody cheers for this team, and I despise watching the Jets. That's why you'll probably never catch me watching a Jets game. So yeah, we'll leave it at that. Jets fifth, and miss the playoffs.
Yeah, if the Winnipeg Jets want to compete for a playoff spot, obviously Connor Hellebuyck needs to step up his game. You're gonna want another Norris type season from Josh Morrissey, and you're gonna want your depth players to get in on the scoring. Otherwise, you're not gonna make playoffs, especially with how good the Central Division is. And I think that's enough said on the Winnipeg Jets. So let's move on to the St. Louis Blues. St. Louis Blues. They missed playoffs 2 seasons in a row now. They're looking to get back into the playoffs with their new coach after Craig Berube was relieved of his duties. Some notable additions. They traded for Matthew Joseph. They got Ryan Suter from the Dallas Stars, another old veteran. And then them absolutely stealing 2 of the Oilers, prospects in Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg. I really liked what they did. Oilers didn't match. We'll talk about the Oilers in the Pacific preview, but I like the additions that they've made. Dylan Holloway in preseason's already looking great for these guys.
Yes.
Unfortunate news that Torrey Krug will be missing the entire season due for ankle surgery. It really sucks because he is a great player, great defenseman. Would have been their guy. You didn't hear about that?
Yeah. I did not. I did not hear about
Yeah,
that.
he will be out through the whole season for ankle surgery.
Was that through preseason?
I don't think
Was it like did he get injured?
I don't think it was from preseason. I think he's just been dealing with an ankle injury, and doctors have told him like, "Hey, we gotta take care of this." So it looks like he'll be out. What I like about this team is their top 6. It's pretty underrated, except for their second right winger. I think you could just put Matthew Joseph there, but
Joseph.
they have Zach Bolduc. I don't know who that is, but I like their first line of Jake Neighbors, Robert Thomas, and Jordan Cairo. Jake Neighbors is an underrated player, actually. A guy in fantasy who pops off sometimes because he's always been on at least one of our teams when we're playing in fantasy, scoring like couple two-goal games here and there, looking pretty good. Robert Thomas and Jordan Cairo are probably going to have better years than last year, I would assume. Braden Shen, the captain, I think he's going to have a bounce-back year. Pavel Buchnevich as well. We're finally going to see him, I think, after he just had his extension. I think he's going to be a really good piece. Dylan Holloway, I think he's really going to thrive on this team, considering that he's always, or would, even if he stayed with the Oilers, always be overshadowed and not play as much due to the fact
Yeah.
that you have Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, two of the best players in the league, on that team. So I think Holloway's going to get a really good shot at being one of their top scorers because I think he's a really really great player. A couple times when I was watching Oilers games, I kept saying, "Is this McDavid's skate with the puck?" And then I realized it was Dylan
Yeah.
Holloway. Like, think about it. He's
Yeah.
a really fast player.
He's fast, bro.
Exactly.
He has
That's what I'm
potential,
talking
man.
about.
Bro, Holloway, like he's a intriguing player to watch. I like. Oh, sorry. Like, are you done talking?
Well, I'll
My
finish.
bad.
I'll quickly finish, but Dylan Holloway, like I said, is a really nice piece. I like their fourth line too of Brandon Saad, Alexander Texier. That's another underrated pickup. And
Yeah.
Alexei Torporchenko, the guy scored an absolute disgusting goal in Montreal. Yeah, I remember watching that game. It was like a minute into the game. I was like, what the fuck are you guys doing? But this guy's a good player. Like I said, I'll look into the defense now. Nick Leddy, Colton Parayko. That's where I think is really going to fuck them up is their defense. It's not looking great. I mean, I like Broberg. He's going to get a good opportunity playing with these guys. Second D pairing with Justin Falk. That third D pair, like Ryan Suter, should be retired right now. I don't think he should be playing. And then Matthew Kessel, not too sure, not familiar with his game, but Nick Leddy, another also older guy. Don't be surprised if Philip Broberg takes over that first defensive pairing. I don't think Nick Leddy's going to be able to play as many minutes as a younger Philip Broberg, and I think it's better for his game anyway. A guy who really needs to have a good season in order for the Blues to finally get back into the playoffs is Jordan Binnington. This guy's been pretty iffy for the past couple seasons. It's been very off and on, where he's had really good games, and then other times he's just had pretty shit games. And that's relatively what has led the St. Louis Blues to not making playoffs for 2 years in a row. So if they want to make playoffs, Binnington needs to step up. Their top guys like Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou, Jake Neighbors, Braden Shen, these guys also need to start popping off. Maybe all four of them having at least 20 goals or more. And then we're going to see a lot from Dylan Holloway, I think, too. And, I mean, that's pretty much all I have to say. I mean, I can give you my prediction now. I think they'll be in the hunt for the wild card spot. I think they'll miss out slightly, maybe like 3 points out this year. I just don't think that they are better than the Minnesota Wild. And I have them going 5th in the Central Division.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you pretty much said everything that I was going to say. I think Jake Neighbors will have 25 goals this season. Robert Thomas and Kyrou didn't have. Robert Thomas had a good season last year. Kyrou really didn't have a good season. I think he'll have a bounce back season. Remember, Kyrou was even getting booed by his own fans because of the whole Berube thing, and then he started crying, like right at the press conference. So it kind of got sour there. But then he scored like 2 goals, and then the crowd loved him again. Shen, Buchnevich. Buchnevich is on also kind of like Jake Neighbors. Kind of just gets passed around in our fantasy. Like, he's good, and then like kind of dips, and then is good again, and then dips. He's kind of streaky. Matthew Joseph played for the Sens. Probably be second line right wing. Foxa, Holloway. Actually, yeah, Holloway. Holloway can do his thing. I think once he's given a chance, because again, the Oilers have so many good good wingers that Holloway was never really given an opportunity like that. So I think now on a Blues team, he doesn't really have that many great wingers. Really great depth. I think he'll get an opportunity and really could suit him well in St. Louis. Brendan Saad will be there. Texier, who I personally think was also an underrated signing. I did play for the Columbus Blue Jackets. Defense is what you said. Really might struggle for this team. Suter, he's like 39. Third pair. Nick Leddy, I think Parayko, Falk is good, but I don't really see them. I don't really see that defensive pair really helping this Blues team to making playoffs. And yeah, it really just relies on Binnington again. I mean, goodness gracious. I mean, he's another streaky player. Like one day he'll have a shutout. The next night, 5 goals against, and it's like, good. Like, what are you doing? I think this season really relies on Binner and that defense. I think forward-wise, I think the forward core will be fine. I think they'll score goals. I just think defense and goaltending. I do have them 7th. I think Utah. Yeah, I do think Utah, Jets, Wild, Avs, Stars, and the other team that we'll talk about are all better than the Blues. I don't really see them competing for a playoff spot. I'm gonna be honest. They kind of just lack everything. Like they lack depth forward wise. They lack defensive depth. They lack goaltending when Benner's not there. So yeah, I see 7th, big time.
Interesting. Yeah, man. Damn, 7th though. That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah,
It's tough to say because these guys won the Stanley Cup not too long ago, and you know
yeah. It
they're
was
looking
2019.
2019. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to our final team, the team that I am most interested in for this year, the Nashville Predators. Now, these guys were the talking point of the summer because a certain someone from Mr. Tampa Bay, Steven Stamkos, was up for a contract. Julian Breezeball did not want to give him a contract for some reason. Longest tenured captain, most goals, most points in franchise history. No, you can get. What did he offer him? I think he offered him $3 million, 8 years, something like that, so he can retire as a Tampa Bay Lightning player. I mean, $3 million a season. That's it. What are we doing here for your best player, your best player all time? So, who calls him? Mr. Barry Trotz over in Nashville. $8 million times 4. $32 million.
Yep.
Or if I'm right, $32 million total. That is an incredible number. And obviously Stamkos took the call and said, fucking right, I'm signing this shit. So they signed Steven Stamkos. This Nashville Predators
Was it 4 times 8? 4 years, 8 mil?
4 years, 8 mil. That's it. Yeah, 4 years, 8 mil. I'm tripping.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, $32 million total. So for 4 years, they get Steven Stamkos. We talked about. Also signing another forward who got disrespected by his team, Jonathan Marchessault. I mean, Vegas handles business like fucking idiots. They lost their one of their misfits, one of their guys that's been there forever, Conn Smythe winner, by the way, mind you, and they just let him walk for fucking nothing. The offer they gave him was bullshit, and Uncle Barry picks up the phone, gives him a call, and convinces him about Nashville's plan. He goes off to Nashville. Another really important signing for me is Brady Shea. Brady Shea is another very interesting player that is added to this roster. They also signed Vinny Hinostroza, but I think he's going to play in the minors. They did sign Scott Wedgwood to back up Juicy Saros, which I think is an underrated pickup, considering that Kevin Lankinen is not that guy. He won't be that guy for the Nashville Predators. He just wasn't the greatest when he had to be in net. He just wasn't given not really given a great opportunity, but like it's hard to, play when you have a guy like UC Saros in net majority of the time. So for them to get a guy like Scott Wedgwood, who's won a cup or two and has been in the playoffs pretty deep, I think that's a great addition. Now, I like this team. I like their top six. Their top six for me was absolutely disgusting. Philip Forsberg, Ryan O'Reilly, Gustav Nyquist, who had a really good year last year. Like, this is another guy to watch out for. Underrated season. Tommy Novak, who signed an extension with the team, is going to be centering Stamkos and Marchessault. Unbelievable second line. Those two wingers looked absolutely disgusting. And then the rest of the team was pretty solid. I'm excited to see Luke Evangelista this year. He really had he had a really great season last year. Another guy, Philip Tomasino, as well. I really want to see how he does too with these guys. But I'm more interested in Luke Evangelista. He was really good for these guys last year. The defense
went on that crazy winning streak last year. Like, bro, Evangelista had goals like every couple games.
I know.
Like, he was just chipping in.
I know. These guys were disgusting. Their defense is looking pretty decent, too. They got Brady Shane, Roman Josi being the top manning pair. Jeremy Lazone and Alexander Carrier. And then Spencer Stasny and Luke Shen. And obviously we know our goalie, UC Saros. I mean, just looking up and down the lineup, it looks really, really good. Yeah. What do we think of the Nashville Predators? I did say before that they were going to be first, but I mean, I retracted my statement on this podcast. The Dallas Stars are just a better team, but overall, a huge, huge improvement from last season.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this Nashville Predators team is going to be absolutely phenomenal. I think teams going to Nashville are going to be like, oh, here we go. Especially with that crowd. Like, dude, Nashville's crowd is really underrated. Like, especially when they get going, like, it's tough to play in there. Forsberg goal scorer, O'Reilly will do his thing. Stamkos goal scorer, Marshy goal scorer. I mean, all these guys can score 40 goals. I mean, which is just insane. Nyquist, who had a great season. Yeah, I think everything. Again, they're another great team all around. They have the goaltending, they have the defense, they have the forward core. I think even the depth too. Like, I like Evangelista, what you said. I like Colton Sissons. Mark Jankowski, who was there last year. Cole Smith, who I think used to be a star. Used to play for Dallas Stars last year.
He was, yeah.
Yeah. So I just think everything. I think Yossi. Although I do think Yossi might have a little bit of a decline. He is getting older, and I do think his point total might fall off because they added more pieces like a Stamkos and a Marchessault. So I think he might dip in points, and he is getting a little older, so I could see a little bit of a drop
But
off.
that's where Brady Shea comes in. That's where Brady Shea comes in.
That's where Brady Shea really, yeah, is really just there. You have also Lozon and Luke Shen, who is a defensive guy. So yeah, I think this press team is going to be great. I think it's going to be a great season for Nashville. I have them second place, playing the Avs in the first round. And yeah, I think, dude, Reds hockey, it's back.
Yeah, I'm like flip flopping with the Avs and Predators now because these two
Yeah,
teams are pretty much equal. I really love what Nashville did in the offseason. Barry Trotz,
I think the Preds are a better team overall.
gotta give a round of applause to Barry
Than
Trotz. We love Barry Trotz.
yeah,
Barry's our guy. But yeah, incredible stuff from him. This Predators team looks so gross. I mean, we both said it. I mean, imagine being Tommy Novak and then look into your left wing, and then you got Steven Stamkos, and then you're looking to your right wing, and then you have Jonathan Marchessault. It's like who do I set up for a one timer? Who do I pass to? I mean, you got really good goal scorers like Stamkos. Another 40-goal season like could be on the horizon, especially if he's playing the Blackhawks 4 times a season. And
yeah.
and then even Jonathan Marchessault, same thing, playing the Blackhawks 4 times a season. Even like Utah, like these guys are just gonna rack up goals. And I genuinely think these guys are gonna make playoffs. I don't know if I'm gonna keep them at third for now. I mean, the Avalanche have the experience for me. Oh, just that's a bit. I think they have a bit better than over the Predators. So I'm gonna say Nashville's third, and I think that's gonna wrap it up. But let's just go over what we have 1 through 8. So I'll go first. I have the Stars winning the division at 1, the Colorado Avalanche at 2, the Nashville Predators at 3, the Minnesota Wild at 4, making that first wildcard spot. Number 5, missing the first. All these teams missing the playoffs. St. Louis Blues at 5, Winnipeg Jets at 6, Utah Hockey Club at 7, and Chicago Blackhawks at 8.
Yeah, I had Stars 1, Preds 2, Avs 3, Wild 4, first wild card, Jets 5, missing playoffs, Utah 6, Blues 7, and Blackhawks at 8.
So yeah, I think that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the AJ Sports Podcast. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. We still got 2 more divisions to do. We've got until next Wednesday to drop 2 pods, which we are going to do. We're going to try and get those out. We could even record them tomorrow or something. We could record them soon, but we will have them put out eventually because I really want to talk about the Atlantic Division because I've been getting so much shit on Twitter talking about the fucking Ottawa Senators, especially from Sens fans. Been hearing it. It's very annoying, so I'm going to address it on that pod. And yeah, I think that we're going to wrap it up here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Leave a like, subscribe, and tell all your friends about us. And listen, we've got 9 days until Toronto-Montreal. 8 days for the official season opener. We kicking off with the... Who's playing? The Bruins are playing the Panthers. Utah's playing their first game, I think, against the Islanders. I could be wrong. And the Rangers are playing... Who is it? Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh.
That's right.
That's a pretty good opening night. 3 games to watch on next Tuesday, and then obviously Toronto Montreal next Wednesday. Watch party will be happening with us. We are going to be live streaming the game. I cannot wait for that. I'm sure Justin's down. We are going to be doing that for sure. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed, and we will see you guys on the next one previewing the Pacific Division. Take it easy.